Hi, Peter Rose, Longwood Currency Trading. I wanted to do a short video today on risk, but yeah, it's trading risk, but it's more life risk. It's critical stuff, so I hope you stay for the whole video because it's going to be interesting and hopefully informative for you. Could change your life. So risk. We always talk about risk in trading, right? Risk to reward. Win-loss has something to do with that. We judge our positions viability based on structural analysis and technical analysis, or whether the Fed's going to do something different in 4 days. We're constantly looking at risk. When we get in our car, we look at risk because we put a seatbelt on. But here's a risk that I want to talk about today from someone who's 71 years of age. And looking at trading is like a new thing that I've gotten involved in. I mean, I've been studying the currency markets since 2007. When I was introduced to them, I did a lot of research and trading in little simulated accounts. 2012, I did my first live trade in a small mini account, got wiped out, went to the wood on that one, reloaded, went to the wood on that one, said, no, this isn't going to happen. So then went back and did a little bit more research. So I have some experience in the currency markets themselves. I've been involved in the financial markets for quite a while, if not investing in them, at least studying them, doing computer simulations and stuff. But I've also been a real estate investor for 40 years. I was able to retire because of that, as you know, if you've watched any of the 30-some-odd videos that I've done so far. So all that stuff has to do with risk, understanding risk, managing risk. Hey, I'm still functional. I was able to retire, swinging around here, show you my house, paid cash for that, okay? And I didn't have to sell my other house in order to do that. So I would be successful. Okay, I'm not hyper wealthy, but I'm good enough that I can retire. And there's the issue, is retirement. Stay with me here. Don't be shutting this thing off. I'm 71 years of age, and when I was younger, my dad worked very hard for his whole life. My mom and dad never took a vacation for 20 years because they saved their money, and he worked real hard. He was an executive in a city business, a couple of them. And so when he retired, he had enough money with his pensions and his savings to provide a nice retirement for him. I mean, they took a trip around the world. That was their big trip. Not that they had money to burn or anything. They had to watch their money. They couldn't take a trip around the world every year. But they retired to Southern California, and they could go out to dinner when they wanted to. If the car broke down, they could get it fixed. They paid for whatever they wanted to do, and had a nice little house in a retirement community. And so that was my model. Work your ass off so that you have enough money that you can retire and then benefit from all of that. And I watched my dad at the end of his business career, unfortunately a little too much alcohol because of the stress, and it was a difficult time for him and my mom. And I remember how much they looked forward to being able to just disconnect from all of that. I mean, he worked in Chicago. He's born in Chicago. I was born in Chicago. And that's where he had his career. He's started out as a cub reporter at the Sun-Times. He was the first reporter on the scene of the Chicago St. Valentine's Day massacre. He became the city desk editor of the Sun-Times, and then he went on to other jobs in Chicago. And so his life was in Chicago, and it was busy, and it was difficult, and it was stressful. And so when he retired, he just wanted to get away from the whole thing. And so he and my mom decided they'd buy a condo in a retirement community out in Southern California, and moved out there. And he had a nice retirement. I don't know if that's possible for you guys that are watching this. I'm 71, and because of that vision that they provided for me, I worked my ass off. And I always had the end goal in mind. I just want to disconnect and have a good time. I'm retired, and if I don't have to do it, if it isn't going to result in me losing my toes or something, I'm not fucking doing it. I do what I want to do. And that's what I looked forward to. And I worked for that goal, and I was able to do that. For the generation, even my son's generation coming up, he's in his 30s, to have what I have now for him would be, I mean, it's obviously going to be achievable, because a loaf of bread 40 years ago was, 20 cents, and today it's, I don't know what a loaf of bread is. I don't care. I buy the loaf of bread because I need it. So it's a bad example. I'm sorry. But a dollar 30 years ago, when I was looking at coming up, I realized I was going to have more than a dollar when I retired in order to do that, because of inflation and all the other stuff. And so I planned for that. So you guys that are back there at that 21 to 34-year-old age bracket that I talk a lot about, becoming involved in currency trading, and you're looking at, what are you looking at currency trading? Make you a multimillionaire, pay you $100,000 a year or $80,000 a year so you don't have to go to work. You can quit your day job and replace a $40,000 a year income by trading. Hey, that's all really great. But let me tell you something. When you get to be 50 years old, you lose options. I was a software engineer for 33 years, and I was really good at the skill that I had, and so I was able to get jobs where others couldn't. And I was passionate about software engineering. That counts a lot when counts for a lot when you're interviewing for a job. So I was able to get that job. But when I hit 50, I began to notice age discrimination. Now, I don't know whether you guys, when you get to 50, whether there'll be age discrimination or not, because there's enough of us old people that are kicking the shit out of all those people that are making age discrimination and proving them wrong, that maybe that won't be the case for you. But when you hit 60, there's something else that comes up. You just get plain sick and tired of listening to the man tell you to hit your numbers or hit the door. You get tired of getting in your car every day and doing bumper tag at 80 miles an hour to get to your job. You get tired of working next to that asshole that all he's doing is bitching about his life and all the other crap that's going on that's negative for him and in his life or her life. You get tired of it. And the stress of doing your job, you get to the point where you say, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And if you continue to do that, that's where heart attacks, hypertension, obesity, alcohol abuse, that's where all that shit comes from, because you just can't take it anymore. So when you're in that 21 to 34-year-old age bracket, which is where I was when I learned the rules of the game, where I learned how to deal with this stuff, and I had the time to act on that. When you're studying this currency trading stuff and you're talking about risk, don't think about risk about the trade. Think about the risk of your life. What's it going to be like when you hit 50? What's it going to be like when you hit 60? What's your retirement age going to be? Do you know today retirement age is, full retirement age is 66. Well, for me, it was 66. My son at 67. Pretty soon it'll be 70 and 70. So by the time, boys and girls, that are 30 years old right now, or 25 years old, by the time you get to be 70, you won't be at full retirement age. Social Security may not even be there in the form that it's in now. So either you save your money and plan for not having Social Security, or you're going to work until the day you fall over dead. And man, that's a bad way to live your life. We only get to do this one time. This is not a dress rehearsal. I'm telling you, from someone who's there at 71 and did the right stuff all the way through because I figured out what those rules of the game are. Would you please go find someone who understands the rules of the game and is willing to teach you, not just fucking trading. Okay, I've been studying martial arts for 50 years, and a huge portion of that is life teaching, because a study of the martial arts is not just punching and kicking. It has to do with philosophical connection to the world around you. It has to do with psychology. It has to do with economics. It has to do with history, because as the famous philosopher, and I'm in a brain cramp, I can't think of his name, but he says if we fail to learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it. Set yourself up now at 21 to 30, or, look, if you're 50 years old, it's not too late. Particularly in currency trading, because the leverage is so good, the rules are so good right now. Learn this game. Take every dime that you have and then put it into it and make this thing work, because when you get to be 60 years old, you do not want to be out there on the road crew running that dozer. You do not want to be sitting in that office punching keys for some other asshole who's running that business. You don't even want to be a business owner at 65 and listen to all the employees whine and complain and steal from you and all the rest of the shit that goes on in the world. You want to be able to sit in your deck chair and call it a day. What are you doing today, right now, that's going to prepare you for when you're 60 years old? Probably nothing, except I'm building my skills. I went to college and I got my degree. Who gives a shit? That degree is not going to pay you after 60 years of age or 65 years of age. You're going to have to work and work and work and work, and you're going to be tired of that. Listen, you like music? Pick a popular song today and play it over and over again, 15 times a day, 20 times a day. Do that for 18 months. How you like that song? You ever want to listen to that song? Have you ever been to Disney World or heard that song, It's a Little Life, or what is that? It's a Small World Now. Oh my God. You hear that thing playing a couple of times, your kids are singing it all day the next day, and you go berserk. You can't stand it. That's what it feels like when you hate your job, when you can't stand it anymore, when you want to get out. Think about this. Trading is going to do that. I did it through real estate. I would no more go back, knowing what I know now. If I was 25 years of age, I would not go into real estate. If you're interested in why, that's part of my consulting program, is to explain all the differentials and stuff. But I would not do real estate again on a bet, unless I already had a ton of money so that I had people that could deal with all the stupid issues that are consistent with doing commercial real estate investment. I mean, I'm not talking about shopping malls. I'm just saying, you buy a 40-unit apartment building, you're buying a commercial property. You're not buying a residential property. Find someone that can explain the rules to you and show you the path, as the Buddhists would call it, right living and right thinking, so that you're happy in your life. You don't want to be crabbing about stuff. No, that's not the way you want to conduct your life. Trade, as I said, I wouldn't do real estate. I found trading, and yes, I got wiped out of a large account because I did it the wrong way. I listened to all these people that were out there telling me what I should do, telling me how to trade and what their systems were and all this stuff, and it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Dead serious. Figure this stuff out now while you can, while you've got time, and while you've got a job, so that when you screw it up and you lose money, there's money coming in from your job to be able to replace that. When you retire, or when you get up into your 50s and you're living pretty much check to check, I mean, the statistics are scary right now. The average American couldn't come up with $400 in an emergency. This is scary stuff. And the older you get, the worse that gets. And the older you get, the less opportunities that you have. Because again, in our environment right now, age discrimination still plays a big part of that. They don't want some 55 or 60-year-old in there working. The guy's probably drinking too much at night, and he's going to have a heart attack on you. He's going to have medical conditions that their insurance is going to have to pay for. They're going to want to be paid more money because their responsibilities are more than some kid coming out of college. Why, as a software engineer, why pay me $100,000 a year to do what a kid just out of college could do? He can't do what I can do because he doesn't have the experience. He doesn't have the depth of knowledge. He can't put the program together as well as I can because of my experience. But he can do a pretty good job and hack it, and the thing will break, and they figure, well, somebody else can fix it. My code never came back. I wrote a code, I put it in, very rarely would I get kickback. But the younger guys, they put code in, it breaks, they pop it back out, they fix it, they put it back in. And they're looked at more highly than I am. I put my code in and I'm done. They put the code in, it breaks, they get it back, they fix it, and they put it in. So they're getting this constant delivery of code into the market, and they think they're a hero because the people that are running the shop don't know shit from Shinola about this stuff. They just want the code to work. They don't care whether it's extensible or they don't care about any of that stuff. But what's true there is true in any occupation. You don't want to run into that and go, oh shit, this dumbass Peter Rose back in 2020 was right. I should have paid attention to what he was telling me. I'm telling you, take a look at this currency stuff the right way, not the wrong way. The right way has to be the right way. And start practicing, start learning. Lose some money. You know, if you're trading a mini account, start with trading mini lots. Don't start like I did. I went in and did a simulated account with $40,000 because that was my simulation plan that I was working on, was a $40,000 bank. And then when I opened my real life trading account, thinking I know what I was doing because I did really well in the simulated account with $40,000, I became a valued member of the 90-90-90 club, where 90% of traders lose 90% of their money in 90 days. That was me, 40,000 bucks, like shit through a goose, gone. Because the real market is totally different than the simulated market. And when I teach somebody, they start out with a $1,000 simulated account, and they do hit certain guidelines, and then they move into the real account, and they trade the $1,000 in that account. You know, if you're trading right now, U.S. margin requirements are 5%. So if you're trading a mini account, that means you need 500 bucks margin to put down to trade for $1 a point. Okay, so the $1,000 account gives you $500 of runway before you bump into the $500 margin that if you fall below that, you can't trade. Now, there's some currency pairs where you don't need $500, you can trade for $300 or whatever. It's all dependent on 5% of the value of the currency at that time. Well, read a book, you figure that out. Regardless, if you have a $1,000 account, you've got $500 of money to spend at $1 a point. That's 500 pips you'd have to lose in order to have to redo that account. Well, if you lost 500 pips, you'd have to do something stupid like I did, which was just let things run, over leverage, trade non-farm payroll, just do stupid shit. But you'd have to lose 500 pips. That's crazy. You got to be able to learn something, and if you don't, it's only $500 to bring your account back up. So if you do that 3 times, you will have spent $1,500, and you will have learned it at that point. Sometimes some people it'll take 3 runs at it. So let it cost you $1,500 instead of $40,000 like I had to pay. And see if you can do it. And after refunding that account 3 times at $1,500, take a real flyer on life and go for the fourth one and make it $2,000. Look, you're 30 years old. If you can't afford $2,000 in order to build your foundation, what did you spend for a year of college? You're on the hook paying college bills right now, right? For $40,000 a year for college, or even if it's only $10,000 if you're going to a state college, it doesn't make any difference. You know, when my daughter was in school, it was $40,000 a year. I had my Parent Plus payment were $1,000 a month. $1,000 a month to pay for that. So if you've got that on your own shoulders, how are you going to pay that off? You know, I mean, as an accumulation of my share of it and her mom's share. You know, I owed $60,000. That's a lot of money to owe. Well, I sold a building, and first thing I did was pay that off. But I had the money to pay that off with. How are you going to do that? Regardless of the fact, if you're out there and you're paying $1,000 a month, you can still have the money to fund a $1,000 trading account to learn this stuff. You go to school, it costs you, you know, it's going to have to cost you around $100,000 for 4 years anyway, even if it's go to a state school. So you're going to whine because it costs you $2,000 to learn how to trade currencies. Once you learn how to trade the currencies, you stay at that same methodology system that you learned, and from there, I don't know, sell your truck, sell your car, go out and work in the fields in the summers before and after work, so you build up $10,000 account, $20,000 account, sell your house and live in a tent so you can have a $50,000 account. Because if you can make 20% on a $50,000, that's $10,000 a year. That skill will enable you to then retire at some point, because you'll have a skill that will pay you money and nobody's telling you what to do. There's no stress in trading when you know what you're doing. You can apply stress by making it a big deal. It's not stressful for me even when I lose. It's just money. Look at this thing logically and put it all into the proper perspective. I'm going to go in here pretty soon and end this up because it's supposed to be 95 or 96 degrees out. I'm just in the shade of the trees here, and the grass is still full of dew. I think you can see it sparkling. So I got my sandals on, and I'm just cooling my toes in the dew. But man, I hope you stayed with this video and got to this point, because the secret to the whole thing is it's never too late to start. But when you start, you got to start with the right thing. If you want to learn how to be a chef, you go to chef school, not auto mechanic school. You got to get the right start. If you can get the right start in currency trading, whether you're 20 years old or whether you're 60 years old, you can then figure out a way to not only replace your job income, but more than that, so that that's your security. Don't count on Social Security. Don't count on being able to retire at 65 or even 70 years of age. It's not going to happen. Maybe it will. But let's, in our risk risk management, let's assume that Social Security won't be there. Let's assume that everybody has to work until age 75 or 80. Everybody has to work all the way through, and when you can't work anymore, you just roll over and die. What did the pioneers do? They worked until the day they died. Social Security is just a relatively new thing. Don't count on it. They can change the rules. Get involved in currency trading, learn the rules of that game, and flourish as a result. Thanks for sticking with me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did. Subscribe, because I got a lot of really neat things that I talk about that's related to trading and life. Have a great day, and have a great trading day.